because even me as a teacher, I'm only human. Like, yes, I will care and love for you, but I'm gonna say it's a shakeable ground, but I'm gonna make mistakes.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
But there is somebody out here who doesn't make mistakes and is a very stable ground for you to always lean into.
Back in July, Matt Armstrong, CEO of Crossroads Kids Club, stopped by here on Mid-South Viewpoint to talk about Crossroads Kids Club, which are led by local churches and meet in schools across America, serving middle school as well as elementary school students. At every Crossroads Kids Club, their desire is for each participant to feel loved and included, to hear the good news of Jesus, and to have the opportunity to walk in relationship with God. Hi, and welcome to Mid-South Viewpoint. I'm Byron Tyler, and today we're going to continue that conversation about Crossroads Kids Club, and we have an exciting announcement to make because we have Kimberly Adams with us in the studio. Kimberly is the new Memphis Regional Coordinator for Crossroads Kids Club. And Matt, last time he was here, he was in search for somebody. He said, I've got to interview somebody this afternoon. Looks like Kimberly is our new coordinator for the Memphis area. Hi, Kimberly. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
We've got to find out about Kimberly Adams. And I love that T-shirt. I mean, that's really stands out about with the work that you guys do. But if you would, share some of your backstory. Where did you grow up? What was your home life like? And what was the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome as a child?
Okay. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. So I grew up between Maryland and D.C. I was in church since I was 2 years old. My brother, it was at school and kids were talking about church. And so he made my mom take us to church and we were there. Yeah. And she became a trustee. So we were there for 2 services, sometimes 3 services. So I was a church kid. But my mom kind of it wasn't forced on us, but we went every Sunday. We went to Bible study and stuff like that, but it wasn't forced. It was kind of our own journey. When I went off to college, my mom moved to Memphis. She's originally from Memphis. And so she moved to Memphis to take care of my grandmother. And so then she got sick. So then I moved to Memphis around 2015 to take care of my mom. And so my job was kind of to drive her around. So I took her to church, but then went and did something and came to pick her up from church. Right. So I didn't go.
Yeah. You were just an Uber driver. Yeah.
Yes. It wasn't anything church did to me. It was just, I guess, my own journey that God had for me to come to Christ, more, be more involved in the church and Christ. And so then a little bit before the pandemic, my mom was getting sicker and I needed to find my own faith and stuff. And so I looked for a church and I found Mission Church is where I attend. And so that's where I've been going for the past. So I started a little bit before the pandemic, took a break, and really been consistent since last year. Yeah. So I've been going there. I am a pre-K teacher for Shelby County Schools. I am also a pharmacy tech. And I am studying the MCAT to go to medical school and the regional coordinator for Crossroads.
Lady, you are busy. You are one busy person. My goodness.
I am.
Oh, so do you have any memories of growing up in D.C.?
I do have memories. It's very multicultural because it is we call it a transit city because it moves with the government, as people...
Every 4 years it turns over.
It turns over. Yeah. And so it's different people. And so my memory there is just getting to know different cultures and getting to know about different religions also and knowing and different cultures and how they view Christianity is one of the things I miss about being kind of here in the South, where it's just, I love it, but it's, it's kind of one.
It's kind of different.
And D.C., not a lot of places also have the multiple of cultures like D.C.
Right, exactly. And I think more and more communities are becoming more multicultural and varied. Would you say?
Yeah. It's diverse. Yeah.
Yes, even Memphis. Yeah.
I was about to say, as I got out more in Memphis, I could see different
currently teach in Shelby County Schools.
Yes.
Memphis, or what's the official name now?
Memphis Shelby County.
Memphis
School.
Shelby County Schools.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew they tied it together there. So in that position, there is a
Pre-K.
Pre-K. So you got the little bitty ones.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was the choice that you decided to go in an educational career path?
When I was in college, I wanted to go to the Peace Corps when I was in college, and they were like, "Oh, you have to have experience with kids." And so I volunteered at a child care center, and then I just fell in love with early childhood education and stayed with that for 18 years, working with kids. And just, I don't know, I just like to see the growth in them, and then their innocence and humility they come with sometimes. I know sometimes it looks like.
Well, what are some of the challenges in the classroom besides making sure they go to the bathroom on time?
Managing their emotions. When I'm in the schools, like with other teachers, they're like, "Oh, you are a blessing. You work with them." But I was like, I've done after school clubs. I was like, the older kids have the same kind of issues, other than like the bath. Sometimes even then with the bathroom, it's like, do you have to go to the bathroom? Like you're fidgeting around. Go to the bathroom. It's just helping them to manage their emotions in this world, kind of thing. Like strong new things happen to them and they react very strongly or shut down. You're just helping them figure it out.
Can you read a child's home life based on the way they perform in the classroom, or anything about their home life, the way they perform in the classroom?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you?
You can.
Yeah.
You can. And then, like, because I'm working with such younger kids, I do interact more with parents than, say, older, like teachers of older kids. So I do get to see and meet. I have to meet with them twice a year. So I see and I'm like, oh, I did see this. Like, oh, they say, like, we sit down and do homework every night or something like that, even though if I don't assign them for homework, they do it. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, I see that in there, in like a good and a bad way, because I see how they respond. If they get redirected, they respond very strongly. They respond like cry or emotion. I was like, I just said the B is backwards. Like, it's nothing that I see like, oh, you're really into, you put a big pressure on education kind of thing. And then I see if someone reacts violently or like, very aggressive, let me say violent, but very aggressively to being redirected. I'm like, oh, maybe, their home life is a little.
Well, building that trust factor, I guess in that age group with pre-K, it's kind of automatic. They love their teacher. Is that true? I mean,
yes.
So you don't have to really work too hard to build their trust factor, do you?
I don't. And that's why everybody's like, oh, when I said like teachers like, oh, you're a blessing with the younger ones. I was like, I am a superhero no matter what to those kids. Like I don't have, like I could be silly, goofy, serious, whatever. Like they love me kind of like no matter what. And they do have that trust that I'll keep them safe, that I feed them, and teach them new things and have fun. So, like the older kids, it is a little more. They don't come with the skepticism of older kids get.
About what age are these children?
I'm 4 and 5.
Okay, 4 and 5. So they are really young.
They are really young.
I was reading. I'm trying to remember now. I think it was in Hungary, I believe. I mean, I think it was Hungary. They start even earlier. I mean, I think kids are required to be in school by the time they're 3, I believe, for 8 hours a day for a 3-year-old. Can you imagine?
Hopefully they get like nap and
hopefully get a long nap, right? Maybe 2 naps.
Yes, because that 8 hours is long.
What are some of the ways that a teacher is able to address the various needs that a student might be living with? I mean, as you meet the parents too, and you start seeing the home life that they live in and how you're able to address these type of needs that might arise.
I just try to stay consistent with them and then also tailor their learning or even the environment to them. When I first started in education, I had like a wonderful principal, and she used to always use this thing. Fair isn't always equal, so it's just like it doesn't. always look the same for everybody. And so knowing that if I know their home life or know their temperament or know them, like, I just try to tailor them and then also scaffold their learning for them.
How important is it, Kimberly, for students to have that caring and safe relationship with adults that could help them meet needs that they might have?
I think it's very important because they look towards you because they're new. Like, they've been on Earth, 4 years,
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. They're like, everything is still very,
Very
very
new.
new to me. And definitely the school environment. We're their first opportunity in school, their first experience with school. And so it's very important for them to have a nurturing adult to know, like, you set the boundaries for me so I won't get hurt or the things that come to my mind. You help me figure out what's safe and what's not, and
Right.
I lean on you
Yes.
to kind of keep me safe.
Yeah. I think that, guys, that's so important for today, right? What can an understanding of Jesus Christ and his desire to have a relationship with students mean the most in their lives at such an early age?
I think it helps them know that because they're going to make mistakes. Like I said, they get strong emotions kind of when they're reprimanded and stuff like that. I think knowing Jesus loves them is that they will make mistakes, but Jesus will always, like, I will always love you, but Jesus' love is like beyond how much I could love you. And God, his Father, created you. You're created. You were known you were going to make this mistake, so it's okay. Kind of thing. Gives them that kind of balance. Like,
Yes.
okay, I do have love in Jesus. I do have an identity and something that's unshakable. Because even me as a teacher, I'm only human. Like, yes, I will care and love for you, but I'm gonna say it's a shakeable ground. But I'm gonna make mistakes.
Yes,
all right.
yeah.
But there is somebody out here who doesn't make mistakes and is a very stable ground for you to always lean into. for
Wow.
love.
Isn't that wonderful to have that?
Yeah.
Even for us as adults, to have that relationship with Jesus, right?
Yes.
Tell us how you got connected with Crossroads Kids Club. Where were you in life just the day before this organization crossed your path?
Okay. So, like I said, I'm transitioning out of education into medicine. And so I was just looking, and then also I'm growing in my faith, and I wanted to connect that growth in faith with also still my love for kids, but something that wouldn't take all my time. I could still, like, do my prerequisite for medical school and get into medicine. And so I just typed in Indeed, like,
Oh, it was in Indeed. Yeah, you typed it in, right?
I typed it in Indeed, and I was like, children growth ministry, something to that. It was something that also led out that I didn't want to be a pastor, like, and I didn't want to lead a child ministry, but it was like children, God, or something.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. So that's the day before. That's what I was like. I just really want to connect these two, and I put it in, and then this just popped up. I was just
Wow, that is incredible.
I was like, this is part-time. It's kind of like I get to make my own schedule with it, and it's just going out. And I did want to connect a community in Memphis to get better connected. Being not from Memphis,
Right.
I don't know if you're from Memphis, but it is kind of hard to get into a community in Memphis when you're not from Memphis.
Well, I've been here all my life. I moved out for about 3 years, but basically, I grew up here, and it's just Memphis has always been home, for me. But I mean, I guess I could see how that could be a challenge and everything, to do that. So you just put in Indeed, and this Crossroads Kids Club popped up. Yeah. And is that how you met with Matthew?
I met with Matt, so he messaged me. We were messaging back and forth. We had a phone call, and he was like, "I'm gonna be in Memphis in July."
Yeah.
So this was like the beginning of July. I think the end of July. He's like, "I'm gonna be in
Because he was
Memphis."
here in the studio with me. Yeah.
And I was like, "Yes, I can make time." And so we met up, interviewed. I interviewed with Kim Klein also, and then they offered me the job. And funny, in the interview with Matt, he was like, "So what church do you attend?" And I was like, "I attend Mission Church." And he was like, My brother-in-law is the pastor there. And I was like, because mind you, Matt is in Chicago, right? Like,
Will's from Chicago too, obviously. Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay. I was like, so what's his name? Because I always have to tell this part, like, back it up. To me, when I went to church, it was like clear pastor. Mission does have Will as a clear pastor, but other people preach. Like other
Yes.
people give messages.
Right.
And so I was like, and they still are considered pastors of the church.
Yes.
And so I thought maybe like, oh, you one of the teaching pastors or something like that. It's like, no, Will Franco. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, because he's married to Will's wife's sister.
Yes.
And so that's the relationship
Yeah.
there. Wasn't it a small world?
Yes.
That's really a God thing, right?
I was like, this has to be God. And that is my prayer. Like every night when I come with difficulties with Crossroads or anything like that, I was like, I prayed on this, and this is very something you gave me to steward. Like, I want to steward this the right way, because how things fell in place, I was like...
It's undeniable, though, right? I love that when God does that. It makes it so clear. What was it about Crossroads Kids Club's story that was most compelling to you?
How they want to get a club. I never thought about a Christian club in school, because when I was in school, I didn't have all my things were attached to, all my faith-based stuff was attached to my church, not attached to my school. But to think about it, like most of my time is at school. And so I was really intrigued by bringing that to the public schools and bringing that into a space where they're already comfortable. Because if their parents don't go to church, going to a church building at first to be introduced to the gospel might not be the most comfortable place for them, but having it in their school and kind of bringing it to the people was very intriguing to me.
Yeah. So was it obviously you saw God work, but was it like when he offered you the position, was it automatic that you decided to accept this role, or did you say, well, let me pray about it? Or
yeah, because I was praying about it, because it was probably like a 3-week process. So after meeting with Matt, it was a little bit of time, and after like talking with Kim, and I just prayed with God, and God kept trying to tell me, because it is out of my comfort zone, because even though I'm a teacher and I talk to kids all day, it's different going and pitching something to church or to schools and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I don't, that's not something.
Have you been walking through a training process to be able to do that?
Yes, we trained in Chicago for a weekend, and then just Matt and Kim and the whole team has just been there for me if I had questions or anything like that. It has been like, go try this and then come back and tell me how it goes.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But I do enjoy that, because that's how, I don't know, that's just how I learn well too, about like just going into the environment or going out there and learning.
Well, as you say, as you try to connect with the community in Memphis, because this could be a great opportunity in that process, because it challenges you to get out of your comfort zone and make those connections. What, Kimberly, are the goals set out that you have, and how have you determined to reach those goals in this position?
My goal is to open up 2 clubs. I know it doesn't seem big, but the process is longer than what you would think to get clubs into schools. So open up 2 clubs, get the word out about Crossroads, just like even if somebody's just like, oh, I hear this interview. Oh, I saw the shirt. And then when I come to them, I'm like, oh, it's not brand new. Like, it's not like, what is Crossroads? It's like, oh, I've heard a little bit. So just this year is get the word out. Just basically get the word out and then start building from there.
What have you done so far, since you've finished some of the training in Chicago and you're back here on the ground now? What are some connections and ways that you've been reaching out in the community, maybe some churches and schools?
So I've reached out to Believe in Church. I have a partnership right now with Hope Church. We're working in Perea. It's a charter school in North Memphis.
Okay.
So actually today is the first day of the club.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh, are you excited?
So I am very excited, because I haven't seen like the club run. I've seen like simulations of the club, but I haven't seen.
And to actually see a club, up and running, I mean, it's not just you doing all of this. I mean, you've got some support, right?
Yes.
Through that local church.
Through Hope, they have some volunteers coming to lead it, and then hopefully I can lead them and then work with my other connections. I've talked to Aurora School. I'm working with them. Trying to reach out to Cordova. So just talking
Yeah.
all over Memphis. Like I said, getting the word out to different churches.
Do you hear that, listeners? Kimberly needs to talk to you about Crossroads Kids Club.
So you see my email, just
Yeah. It's not spam. It's open it up and follow the directions.
Yes, please.
As you mentioned, you said you grew up in a church, but really weren't following Christ for the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Really understood what it really meant, the gospel meant for you. Talk more, if you would, Kimberly, what you encountered that caused this change for you. What was it that really caused you to seek that?
So I even outside of my mom, when I was living in DC and she was living here in Memphis, I would go to church, but off and on. I was like, oh, let me seek God and go to church, but I never found a church home.
Yeah.
And so Will preaches this thing that God, you don't draw God in, God draws you in. And when he preached that one sermon, I was like, that is exactly what happened. I don't have a mind-blowing thing of what made me decide this is faith. It was just like, this is time. Like something just told me this is time.
Right.
You tried mission before the pandemic. Let's go back there. Right. And I went there, and it just each day it just seemed like God was like growing me more and more. And so it's just like he was just drawing me in. So it wasn't.
Yes.
It wasn't so, like in the meantime, my mom did pass away.
I'm so sorry.
I went through breakups and stuff. And just, I don't want to say my mom passed away. It's just life stuff. But, it is inevitable. Your parents will.
Yes.
So, and she was, like I said, she was sick. So it wasn't anything that, I don't know. It's just, Just
a process, yeah. Mm-hmm. And sometimes God takes us through these different seasons as he's, as you said, drawing you to him as he reconciles us to him through the gospel. And I think that's what's so important too, is that we have, and this is key too, to the work that you do with Crossroads Kids Club, that the churches are really gospel-centered focus, that's their heartbeat, you know? And that they're teaching and preaching God's word, because those are the kind of churches you really want to connect with, because those churches have the heart of, young children's souls, concerned, and they want to see the gospel, reach, all people. Yeah. So I think it's beautiful how God worked in your life this way.
Mm-hmm. I do too. And when I was younger, I've always believed there was a God. I always believed in God, but I did waver back and forth of the role of Jesus in my life, if I could be honest and frank. Like I did waver. I was like, I know he was here on earth, and for a long time I believed that he was a good guy who lived on earth and did what he was supposed to do, and this is my motto, not that he came to save me. And then just recently in my adulthood, I was like, no, he came to save me. I needed to be saved. Yes. I wouldn't have done it on my own. I couldn't have done it on my own without Jesus.
It's so true. I know. I sure couldn't either. Well, what are some of the needs that you currently have to help build this Crossroads Kids Club Foundation here in our community?
I need volunteers.
Okay.
I need churches to come along and be part of it, and I need schools. I guess I need everything, because we are brand new here in Memphis. So it's like just thinking of starting a brand new business. Like you're just doing the bootstrap work on ground. So I just need the volunteers.
But I think it's important. This is a new work in Memphis, but this is not a new work. For over 26 years, this work has been going on, based out of Chicago. But there are Crossroads Kids Clubs all across the United States, in major cities. And they're active, and they're growing and working, so it is so important for our listeners here to understand that, right?
Right, that it is. We have in Central America, we have clubs in Ghana, and then we have here in the stateside, we have Chicago, we have Orlando, Florida, we have Houston, we have St. Louis.
It's exciting.
So, and we have Ohio. So we have them all over, and definitely the Midwest area and the South.
Right. Okay, as you mentioned, the local church plays such an important role in setting up these Crossroads Kids Club in the community. How are churches utilized, just practically, and what is the commitment they need to make to be part of this organization?
Churches are used to gather volunteers, to help get volunteers, and then they're used as kind of the backbone of the program. So I would do all the logistical work of it, but the church will just give us kind of lividity, like give us something to stand on. Just saying, oh, Kim comes here as Crossroads Kids Club. It's kind of like, okay, I'm trusting you with kids. Like, I need something more stable, something more known. And so the church's name to it adds that, and they do the background checks, and they put their trusted members in there.
Of course, you help walk the church through all these steps. It's not something they just have to come up with.
Right. And they and that has been kind of the hesitations from the church. They was like, we have so much on our plate. And I was just like, I do like the logistical part. I will do all that. I will even talk to the volunteers, train the volunteers, do that part. I even have like the contracts and stuff written up, and I will meet with the schools and do that. I just need kind of your backing.
Exactly.
I guess that's basically what
I think it's great. Yeah, I think that's good because the churches have these already existing, connections, relationships, and in the community, and some of them for many, many years. And what a great opportunity to take the gospel, outside the church walls into these public schools, right?
Yes.
It's so beautiful. What would you like to see God do through the work of Crossroads Kids Clubs through our public schools?
I would like for it to add a safe place for kids to ask questions about the gospel, about the Bible, and then connect them to a church home.
Yeah.
So that it continues on. There's plenty of stories that we have where kids come, like maybe a family has been separated, like a divorce, or even they just come from kind of a hard house, and how Crossroad helped them find their identity in Christ, and then they bring their family along with them to a church, one of the church that may be affiliated with the Crossroads program, but even that may be their neighborhood church.
Okay, yeah. Wow, that's exciting, so exciting. Well, I understand that a vision dinner is scheduled for next spring 2025. Do you have any specific details to share on that event yet? Or
I have the exact date, and we're still looking at different venues, but the exact date is April 4th, 2025.
Okay.
And hopefully we can get the Brooks Museum.
Oh, yeah. That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they're building a new museum downtown, but the existing museum is, I think, still operational and everything. That would be a great location. We want listeners to be able to pray for you. What are some ways that we can pray for your efforts? Would you like for us to do that?
Okay, pray for our first club meeting tonight, that the kids get excited and enjoy it. Pray that we can get into at least one more school this semester, and that we continue just to grow the gospel.
Amen. I love it. I love it. Now, if somebody wanted to contact you personally, Kimberly, to talk more about what we've been sharing, or to learn more about Crossroads Kids Club, how can they reach you?
They can reach me at kimberly.adams@crossroadkidsclub.com.
Okay. Well, this has been fantastic. Please don't be a stranger. As Crossroads Kids Club develops here in our community, you have an open platform here. Okay. And I'd love for you to come back. And I'm looking for the day when you can come back with maybe some of the other pastors of churches and those volunteers, and just share the excitement of what God's doing in the hearts of children in our community. Please feel free to do that. Yeah. Thank you so very much for sharing.
Thank you for the opportunity.
This has been great. Yes. Well, friends, that's all the time we have on this edition of Mid-South Viewpoint here on Bott Radio Network. I'm Byron Tyler, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.